after me. I'm a man. I'm 40. I'm not a kid.
Alright, so everyone did this as a kid, right? You're in a store and you see those vending machines. Ooh, you want that drink or that candy bar. It's a highlight in a young kid's day. There's staples in communities everywhere. Lifelong family, friends, and friends of the podcast are here for you. Gymnasiums, rec centers, playgrounds, wherever. KL&P Vending Inc. Family owned, family run. Come to us when you need your vending done. That's where the Gamertime podcast is going. Call them. 717-371-3350. That's KL&P Vending Inc. Hey! Oh, no. Welcome to the Gamertime podcast. My name is Matt. I am not joined by Mr. Big Al Mocious. Unfortunately, he's attending a funeral or doing something with a funeral family member. So best wishes to the Mociouses. I think it's the Mociouses, or the opposite side of his family. Either way, best wishes to the family. Big Al, we're thinking about you, and we'll see you next week. So, instead of that soothing voice you hear every week, we've got a different voice. You heard him last week for the first time. Mr. Tyler, what's up?
What is up? My voice is not as soothing, so I apologize.
Oh, it's alright. Whatever. Alright, so we're going to kick it off with some baseball stuff. For the locals, we got the Phillies and the Rockies tonight at 7. Right now we are recording 20 minutes before the game. The Phillies currently sit at 24-19, where the Rockies are at 20-22. The Phillies are on a slide, right?
Yeah, they've lost 3 in a row after winning, it was like 4 series in a row.
Okay.
So they're a little bit of a slide, so hopefully they get back on track tonight.
Yeah, I saw, last I looked, they are a game and a half up in the division. They're currently sitting first place, which is fine. You know, right now it's okay, but you want to sort of pick it up. What's the stretch run? Right after the All-Star break or so?
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much
last
month
third
of
the season. Yeah.
What about, how's Bryce doing? Is he back to normal?
Well, he's not. Well, obviously he's struggled for the past month or so, but the last few games he hasn't gotten a lot of hits, but he's hit a lot of balls hard. So I think he might be breaking out of the slump a little bit.
Wow.
So I mean, he's only at 7 home runs total right now, and he's been stuck on that for a while.
So I was about to. So obviously Harper's struggling, batting .221, with 7 home runs and 25 RBI. And then I looked at Colorado, and their star Arenado is at .314, 11 homers and 35 RBI. Check back with the Phillies, and the batting average is a little bit lower, but Rhys Hoskins, .273, same amount of homers, 11 and 36 RBI.
Yep.
I kind of really like him. I mean,
he's the real deal.
Awesome.
He is no fluke, that is for sure.
Yeah.
And then he hasn't even played 2 full seasons yet.
Yeah.
And he's, I think, pretty close to 100 career home runs at this point.
Wow.
So
that's quick. Segura's batting .312, which looks like is the team lead in batting average. Other than that, Real Muto's got 25 ribbies, .276 batting average, not bad. Franco's got 28 RBI.
Out of the 8-hole.
Yeah.
For most of the time, at least.
Yeah, that's crazy. So anyway, the pitching matchup for that game is Gray versus Irvin. Irvin looks like 1.29 ERA, but he's 1-0. Just seven innings pitched though. So
yeah, he made his major league debut on Mother's Day, and he looked pretty good. He's not a hard thrower. He's a lot like Tom Glavine. He looks, left-handed, doesn't throw very hard. I think he wears the same number too, 47. I think that's the number Tom Glavine wore.
Yeah.
So saw a lot of similarities there.
Nice.
He's a pitch to contact type of pitcher. So he's a guy that has to hit his spots. He's not going to blow people away. So if he throws, stuff down the middle, he's going to get hit. But
yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I mean, it seems like the young talent there with the ace, who I can never remember his name.
Aaron Nola,
thank you.
Yep.
The young talent of pitching seems to be set.
Yep.
I mean, that's always good. But all right, so I keep seeing this thing, social media. You scroll through different things, and obviously the sports fans that we are, I get ESPN stuff, and ESPN is claiming that there are 100 days until the start of college football. And
that's not that long.
No,
it's not that far away.
That's one of my loves.
That'll fly by.
Yeah,
that'll be here.
It definitely will, especially with no preseason for college football.
Yeah, that'll be here soon.
The first game you see is going to matter. That's always good.
Yeah.
But one of the main headlines right now in college football is that, being how old Nick Saban is, I think Alabama is already starting to look past. I mean, I don't know his contract, but I think it wasn't too long ago that they locked him up for a good sized contract. So I think he's either halfway through it or he's still got a little bit good of a chunk left of it. But either way, they're looking past it, and a rumor has it they're looking at Dabo Swinney, who is a rival. I mean,
yeah, I can't imagine that.
That would be crazy. He's dismissed it, but for a guy who's beaten Alabama twice now for the championship, then you kind of are like, why would he? That would be like, okay, if the locals here, Penn State fans, Penn State goes on to win, just create this complete dynasty, which we're hoping is going to happen, but this complete dynasty, and destroy Ohio State for the next decade, right? And we beat them for the Big Ten title 6 times, and they get it 3 times or something like that. And we completely dominate the Big Ten. And then what? We want to just, and then our coach goes, you know what? I dominated them, so let me go play or coach for them. That's just weird.
Yeah, it
doesn't seem normal.
It's like if Coca-Cola merged with Pepsi. That would not.
Yeah, or Trojan merged with Magnum condoms.
It could happen.
It could happen. Here's another one that. Sorry, I'm just reading some headlines. This is kind of branching out into all different sports, but Tyreek Evans, who's supposed to be his rookie year, he won Rookie of the Year, and he was the first guy in a decade where he averaged 25-5 for a rookie, and that's obviously very good. And now the stat numbers. This was I want to say close to 10 years ago now, but disqualified from the NBA for 2 years, which
disqualified.
Disqualified.
That's the word they used.
Yeah,
not suspended.
Right.
Disqualified.
The headline says disqualified from the NBA for 2 years for substance abuse. So I think I did hear before that he's had a warning or issued it before, but to see just a straight ban, you're out. Get the heck out of the league for 2 years, and then he can apply to be back in the league. That's weird. It's crazy, but
I don't get that one.
Yeah. So another headline: Sharks bothered by people saying they're lucky. San Jose Sharks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did not hear about that.
Okay, well, if we're going hockey, let's start with this: the hand pass, or whatever that was called.
Yeah, I heard about that. I didn't watch the game, but I heard about it on the radio that there was a hand pass. Obviously, you can't, pass the puck to somebody with your hand, and supposedly they did that, and it resulted in a goal.
Yeah, apparently.
Is that what the game-winning goal? Maybe.
I asked the guy at work, and he goes, "So apparently he took the puck, and I don't know if he was trying to bat it down, or if he was whacking it, or if he actually grabbed it, or what he did exactly."
You can bat it down. You can't just. Yeah. But you can't grab it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess he did that, or he grabbed it. I don't know what he did actually, but it went to a teammate, and then his teammate passed to another guy, and that guy scored.
Okay.
So that's from what I heard from a coworker. That's exactly what happened.
Okay.
But anyways, refs didn't call it. and goal won the series, right? It was Game 7 or something like that.
Or
it was clinching.
Are you talking about
overtime?
Just this past game?
Yeah, I think so.
No, that only put them up 2-1.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, they're up 2-1.
But so the refs, so this is a side note of this, that the refs were like trying to get out of there as quick as possible, right?
Yeah.
And that happens all the time when there's a bad call. I think of the Seattle Green Bay game from a while back.
Oh, with the replacement refs.
Yes, yeah, the replacement refs. That's right. With the Hail Mary or whatever.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
You think about stuff like that where they've got to just get out of there as quick as possible.
Yep.
You know, they're running to the tunnel.
And it's not even a place that's known for having, out of control fans. I mean, St. Louis. I mean, that's the Midwest.
True.
I mean, they're not like in Philly or
more
New York
back,
or
right.
Boston or whatever. But
yeah. But it's weird to see that. You're right, and to see that in St.
But it
Louis.
is, it is hockey and
playoffs, and everything's kicked off for the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I guess the site was that they were trying to get out of there, and fans and stuff were like,
I'm sure they were throwing stuff.
oh, either throwing stuff, they were doing something with the door is what I heard. Something about the door, where they were, I don't know how they had access to the door, but they were like
door,
trying to, like
from the rink to the locker room?
To the tunnel.
To the tunnel, yeah. Okay.
Where they were trying to keep it shut so they couldn't go back to lockers or something like that. I don't know how they got access, how they were.
So people were actually trying to get to them physically.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I don't understand how security, how they're able to get to the doors in general. But anyways. So, now another note for this was that I also heard from a coworker, grapevine stuff, but I also heard that there's a video showing where it excused this. I forget what it was, where it was deflected somehow during the, I know this is making for bad audio, but deflected somehow where the puck got redirected instead of a pass. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Almost to where he went to, maybe he was trying to swat it down to himself and it got deflected off of something and went over to his team. Okay. You know what I mean? Something like that.
I'd have to watch it. I haven't seen it. So
I'm not sure either.
But in the other series, Boston swept Carolina. I know last week I was talking about how Carolina seems like that Cinderella team. Well, never mind.
Yeah.
They had a hell of a run, though, because nobody, they were supposed to be one of the worst teams in the league, I think, at the beginning of the season. And, another Boston team is in a final series for about the 10,000th time in this decade.
Thank God the Celtics lost, because the chance, I think I said this last week, but the chance of them having the Boston Grand Slam of all four teams winning the championship, that's insane. Like, what? Like, that shouldn't be possible. Like, if the Celtics win the championship, then the Bruins will be like, all right, you know what? We got one. We're good.
Yeah.
We'll lose. I don't know.
And the Red Sox just won last year. The Patriots just won.
Right.
Good God.
Yeah. So they've got 2, maybe 3 if the Bruins can win, but that's just insane to me.
Yeah, they have it good up there. That's for sure.
I bet.
They're not allowed to complain about anything. Ever.
No, exactly. The curses are done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So another local point here to go back to college football. I know we're bouncing around, but so back to college football. Penn State fans, I'm not sure exactly how, I'm a diehard, but I'm not sure exactly how I feel about the latest news. So Trace McSorley obviously started for the last 3 years, and we had great success under him. There was a guy who is a grade, I actually think he's the same class as McSorley, but he had his red shirt, and so he's got 1 more year of eligibility. So he waited his turn, just like any college football quarterback should, who isn't able to jump in right away. But anyway, he waited his turn, and he would have been the starting quarterback this year for Penn State. I think that was a given, at least for the first week or so, unless he, does horrible, whatever. At least for the first week, he was probably promised, week 1 starting quarterback, and he decided to transfer, leave Penn State, go to Mississippi State, where the head coach is Penn State's former offensive coordinator from the great 2 years that we had, with Barkley and McSorley, and Joe Moorhead. So Mississippi, he did do well in his first year at Mississippi State last year, Moorhead that is, and I think they got to a bowl game. I'm not sure on that, but they did. I know he did have a decent season for his first season, and so now Trace. So now Tommy Stevens is going to go to Mississippi State, where he knows the coach very well and probably knows the offense very well. So we'll see, how they use him or how he does in the passing game in general, because now he's in the SEC. Like, it's a whole other animal. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
But there, in the meantime, last year, so 2 years ago, we had a freshman come in. They decided to redshirt him. So he spent his first school season on the bench. Now, his first year of eligibility last season was, technically he's a school sophomore, football freshman. That's how it works.
Yep.
In Sean Clifford. He came in garbage time. I believe he was number 2 because Tommy Stevens was injured last year. So he came in garbage time. Trace had the games, wrapped up or whatever. And he had instant highlights. So I believe he played one series the first game he came in. I believe it was the second week or third week or something like that. And it was a bomb. A 70-plus yard touchdown pass, one throw. Mm-hmm. He was 1 for 1 for 70-some yards and a touchdown. That was it. He went out.
And then he went right into the draft, right?
Yeah, exactly. And he did the exact same thing 2 weeks later. He came in again and threw a fly route, bomb pass, 70-plus yards, 1 for 1, one touchdown.
Wow.
So his stats are 2 for 2 for 145 yards and 2 touchdowns. So it's
what?
Yeah, it's crazy. So he did. Man. Who knows what exactly that means? Because he's only thrown 2 passes or so. I think he's got a little bit more than that, but he's only thrown a couple of passes. You don't exactly know how he does against a good defense.
Yeah, because he probably wasn't against great teams. Yeah.
Right, in crunch time, all these different situations for a quarterback and determining whether or not a quarterback is going to be good, whatever it is, you don't know on this guy. But I think just for seniority on the roster is that he moves up as a starter. Mm-hmm. The only other options are 2 guys that we just picked up this year in this class, a month or 2 ago. And that is Taquan Roberson from New Jersey and Michael Johnson Jr. from Eugene, Oregon. Now, this is what I know, is that they are the top 2 quarterbacks in the dual threat category. So out of all the dual threat quarterbacks in the country last year, they're the 2 best ones.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Taquan Roberson, New Jersey, obviously a local guy. I'm sure he's grew up watching Penn State, being from New Jersey, and knows a lot about us, blah, blah, blah. But Michael Johnson Jr. was the number 1 ranked quarterback in the state of Oregon. And Penn State got him. Like that in Oregon, opposite end of the country.
Yeah, how did they get both of these guys?
I don't know. So I don't understand how they got the guy from Oregon. That's weird. But I guess that's great recruiting.
Yeah, it's because Penn State's back on the map now.
Yeah,
in terms of recruiting,
it's
ever
the
since
Saquon
that
Barkley
whole
effect. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see how they pan out. But I definitely don't think. Obviously, you got to put one as the backup, but the other one, I'm sure they're going to redshirt. Or they're going to try and, if Clifford can stay healthy, they're going to try and use them both as minimally as possible so that they can redshirt them both, so they can keep them for another year later down the road, blah, blah, blah. But I think within 2 to 3 years, you could possibly see a dual threat. Either one guy goes to receiver and the other guy's obviously the starter, or they just switch back and forth. You know what I mean? It could be one of those type of systems.
At some point, wouldn't you think one of those guys would transfer? Just because how good they are?
I would imagine.
It's not like there'd be room for both of them.
See, I could see that if it was, if they were pocket passers. I think with dual threat quarterbacks, I think a lot of those guys are okay with switching positions.
Yeah.
I think it happens all the time where a quarterback changes to a wide receiver or running or tight end or whatever it is, and propels and does pretty well. Or a quarterback does well in college and enters the draft in a different position. It happens all the time. So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. I like Clifford. He is a pocket passer, just stand up straight kind of, decently tall. I think he's like 6'3" or 6'4". He's just a stationary quarterback, which is okay. He's not McSorley. He doesn't have that threat of the run.
Yeah.
I think he's athletic. He's young. He's in college, so I think everybody's athletic. But I think the focus is to develop him as a passer and see how that goes. So interesting to see that Tommy Stevens transfer. Kind of, like I said, I'm not sure how most Penn State fans feel.
Yeah, he was a fan favorite, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Because I remember watching games, and he would come in, he would I guess it would be garbage time. Or, like, whenever they would use the two, he would line up as a receiver or whatever. Like, the crowd would go nuts.
Right. Well, because he was very athletic. He was, he could catch the ball, and he played like that wildcat quarterback out at the receiver spot. You know what I mean? I think everybody hates the wildcat at this point. It was popular there a decade ago, and I think it freaking sucks. I just don't like it. It never has any success, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah. So
even in the Madden video games.
Oh, yeah.
Every time I tried it,
it sucks.
I lost yards.
So don't use the wildcat, kids.
Ever.
It's a bad formation. So, NBA playoffs. Let's move on to that. Last we talked was 2 days before Game 7 of the Raptors and the Sixers.
Yes.
Oh,
that's right. God.
Everybody.
I was trying to forget about that.
I think everybody who's listening to sports fans who listen to this podcast know what happened by now.
Yeah.
And that was a very good series, number one. It was a good game. I think there were a lot of issues that the Sixers had. We talked about this right after the game ended. About just so many, like, unforced turnovers was your point. Letting up offensive rebounds was my point.
That's the one that pissed me off the most. And it seemed like there was at least a handful of times where, it just seemed like there were 3 Sixers players under the basket, and there was one Raptors player, and the Raptor player would get it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because it just looked like they were standing around watching it.
I like to call it rebounding awareness, where there are guys who are either 7'4" and freakishly athletic, and they can get a decent amount of rebounds, or there's the guy who's 6'10" and boxes out and can get also the same amount of rebounds. I think of Kevin Love. Kevin Love is probably the most underrated rebounder right now because he's shifted his game elsewhere. But he, in Minnesota, he would pull down. He led the league in rebound. It's because he was so good at boxing out, and like he was obviously not the most athletic guy or the tallest guy, but he would lead the league in rebounds for a couple of years there in Minnesota. But anyways, so back to the Sixers. I like to call it defensive or rebounding awareness, where either you're just watching the ball and you're trying to figure out where you should be to get the rebound and not look at the offensive player doing the exact same thing, because your job as a rebounder should be to put a body on the other team, and that is box out, and that is to get in the way of an offensive rebounder. And if the ball doesn't go your direction, then at least you have the most direct route to the ball.
Yeah. Because
you're on the inside of that guy. So
now, is that coaching? Is that just bad coaching?
No, boxing out is something you learn in middle school. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like that's stuff that.
So they're just not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Well, unaware of the situation, or see, like in those situations with the Sixers game, was that they did a good job of closing out on the shooter, which is running out as best as you can and putting a hand up on the 3-point shooter. And then it's tough to do that and then come all the way back to the basket. I almost get it if that's the case, but like you should be in the best shape of your life. Like you should be, you know what I mean? You're a professional athlete, blah blah blah. Your job is to do that. Is is to what's the word I just used? Close out and get the rebound. Like you should as an NBA player be able to do that.
Okay.
And so I think that it was a little bit of that where they would put up a 3-pointer where guys were running out to try and contest it, and then they would miss and not be in position to get the rebound. Blah blah blah.
Okay.
But not an excuse in my opinion. But so anyways, it was a close game. It got down to obviously the last seconds, and
yeah, can't get any closer than that. I mean,
yeah, I think they were
down
down.
The last shot.
I believe they were down like 4 or so within a minute, and the free throws helped. I think somebody missed. I think Kawhi missed one or something like that.
He did, yeah.
And then somebody scored with 2 or 4 seconds left.
It was like, I think it was like 4.5.
Yeah, to tie
and
the
then
game.
when they did that, I thought, oh god, because that's plenty of time to go down and win
it
the game.
is.
And then 4.5 seconds is an eternity
with
basketball.
Exactly.
I mean, it's
and with timeouts, advancing the ball to half court, then it's like anything happens. So, and anything did happen. The craziest shit happened. Kawhi Leonard caught the ball at the top, like right in the middle, and had enough time to run out basically almost the corner. He was just shy of the corner and kind of put up a running, fading long 2. And Embiid, if you watch the replay, Embiid I think would have had the block if he just timed. He had like, okay, so it's hard to do this on a podcast, but he had the footwork to kind of bend and jump, and then when he realized it would have been too early, he came back down just a smidge and then jumped. And by doing that, he didn't get high as he would have.
Okay.
It was timing. The timing of his jump was just a little early, and he knew it, so he tried to fix it, and by doing that, he didn't get the best amount of height or whatever. So Kawhi was able to get the shot off over a 7'1" guy. Anyways, and it bounces short side of the rim, straight up to the back side of the rim, up in the air again. I believe hits a few inches further in. Third bounce comes to the front side of the rim, and then rolls in. 4 bounces.
Yeah, so pretty much 4 bounces.
4 bounces.
When it took that first bounce, I knew it was going to go in.
Well, see,
I was like, oh, God, that's going to go in.
See, like, I thought, when I saw the shot hit the front of the rim, I thought it was a miss.
Yeah.
Like, at that split second.
Because it's hard to tell from the side angle. You can't tell the depth perception. You can't tell which way it's bouncing.
Exactly. So when I saw it come straight up, I was like, oh, wait. Yep. And then it hit the back side of the rim. On the second bounce, I knew it was going in.
Yeah. Yep.
When you see a ball hit the front side of the rim, now when I say front, I mean the side that's closest to the shot, where the ball was coming from. So the ball hits the front side of the rim, goes straight up, comes down and hits the back side of the rim. It's almost like the percentage of the ball going actually in the net jumps up.
Oh.
From like substantially.
Once it gets
at that point.
Second bounce,
all the momentum is centered between the two sides of the rim, and of course that's where you want to put it. So, and so the Raptors win. What was it, 94-92 or 92-90?
Yeah, there were some low-scoring games in that series.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
it's
it's good defense.
Is it me or did scoring this year go up like dramatically? I mean, there were games that didn't even go to overtime that were like 135 to 125 or something like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a definite it's funny you say that because I've always thought that over the last couple of years where these games of the Jordan era and the 90s and the 80s were always around. Now Showtime Lakers and the Celtics and stuff like that, those were up over 100. But I think when it got to the Jordan era, the defense got stronger, and I think almost every finals game with Jordan in it was like 90s. Every game was in the 90s. Okay. I think it was almost rare to see 100 points in a Jordan finals game or whatever.
So when the playoffs come, they just bear down more.
Oh yeah,
and it's
defense
like,
definitely
it's
gets
the same thing in hockey. I mean,
Yeah.
you'll see lower scoring games usually in the playoffs just because they're,
So I think that, but with the late dynasty and the Golden State Warriors, and everybody shoots threes. It's either threes or dunks, and solid positionless basketball is what they call it. Ever since then, it's like skyrocketing points. Like record books are being broken because you've got Trae Young is a perfect example. He was at the point where high school and middle school, and I want to say middle school, he was probably watching Steph, right? Steph Curry over the last 6 or 7 years has been the king of the three ball. And so Trae Young's watching this growing up, and he's able to do some of the exact same things, and he gets drafted for those exact same things. And he goes to the Atlanta Hawks this year as his rookie season, and he's a prolific three-point shooter. I think his percentages are down because he's being used so much at that shot, and he puts up record numbers as a rookie. And he's got 50-point games. He's averaging, I'm not sure if he averaged 20 points or not, but he was averaging around 20 points a game, like all this stuff that are really good for rookies. And in my opinion, he's not going to get Rookie of the Year. I think it's Doncic, but it's a perfect example of the youth watching how the NBA is played nowadays, and it's shoot the three and dunk.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he was
And then
probably growing up at, and
then
perfected.
don't play defense.
Yeah, pretty much. I think the Hawks were one of the worst teams on defense, so that's a great example.
So Golden State's up 2-0, right?
Yes, Golden State for the playoffs right now is up 2-0 on the Portland Trailblazers. A decent game. Okay, so here's a side question. You got Steph Curry is the best three-point shooter in NBA history. I think it's safe to say.
Yeah.
And he's got a little brother, I'd say 5 years or so, who plays for Portland. So they're playing each other in the Western Conference Finals right now. And parents are at the game, okay? So let's say you had two kids who play the same sport, and now they're facing each other, and you and your wife or whatever are there, and who do you root for?
I don't think you...
I think you kind of have to
I don't think you necessarily root for anybody. You just, one of them's going to win, so
right.
It's not like they're both going to lose. But
I saw their dad, Del Curry, who also played. He had one of those double-sided jerseys on. The front was Portland, and the back was Golden State. So he had Curry. I kind of wonder what number he had.
Yeah,
because they wear different numbers. But either way, it's an interesting question because it's like
maybe root for the one that's not nearly as talented.
Right. You kind of want to even the balance out.
Yeah,
like
your other kid to win one for once.
Yeah, Steph has what? 4 rings? 3 rings? I think he has 3 rings.
Yeah, I think it's 3. And
he's got 3 rings, and little brother has barely made a roster.
0.
So
yeah.
I think it's easy who to pick on that situation. So, Eastern Conference, obviously, like we said, the Raptors move on from the Sixers, and they go up against Giannis, the Greek freak.
Tupo, right? That's how you say it?
Bumbo. Yes,
yep.
That's exactly
I knew I got it. I knew I got it.
We got this down pat.
So that's 1-0. And that game 2 is tonight.
Yes, game 2 is tonight.
Just less than an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So
that'll be. I think that's going to be a close series. So friend of the podcast, Cam, he texted me. I want to say either yesterday or this morning, and he was asking me about who I thought if either Milwaukee or Toronto could beat Golden State, if that's the matchup in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him that the best chance, in my opinion, is probably Toronto, because there's this weird thing that Kawhi Leonard does. Like, not like an act or whatever, but like so a couple of years ago, Spurs, Kawhi's former team, and the Warriors were in a playoff series. Game 1 in Golden State. the Spurs were up by like 20 or 25 or so like that, and Kawhi was just tearing them up.
Yeah.
He was destroying them.
Yeah.
And somewhere in like the second or third quarter, Zaza Pachulia, that's a funny name, steps under him on a jump shot. Some people say it was on purpose, some people say not, whatever it was. But Kawhi comes down and breaks an ankle, or he breaks part of his knee or something like that. But it ended his season, and turns out he barely played the season after. And what happened was that even in that game, when he went down, the Warriors came all the way back. And the Warriors won game 1 and the series.
Oh.
So
Of course that would happen.
Yeah. So it was like a huge blow to the Spurs, but like ever since then, I've always had this thought, like, I wonder what would have happened if that never happened. Like, would the Spurs have beaten them because they were destroying them in game 1 on the road? Like, I kind of wonder, like, if Kawhi's got like this kryptonite thing for them. So it'd be interesting to see.
All kinds of revenge plans. That's for sure.
Right. Exactly.
But now, was that the first year of the Warriors?
I want to say that was the first year of Kevin Durant on the Warriors, I think.
Okay, so it wasn't the first year.
2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I think. But it's crazy. Like, their dynasty is just amazing. So
it is, and doesn't seem like it's done yet.
I think
they got at least one more left in them.
Everybody, please, if you haven't already, look up this very, very short podcast that I did with my stepson Hunter. We did a tiny little recap on the SWS Little League Baseball game, and where he struggled, or no, he did pretty decent well. He had a recent game this past Wednesday, and where he offered, and he didn't do so well. So this is what happens. So my wife comes home. She walks in the door and she goes, "Hunter didn't play good." I was like, "Oh, okay." And he comes in the door, and you just hear, and I just laid down Hadley for bedtime.
Right.
And he comes in the door, and he's like, stuff just starts flying.
Oh boy.
Like shoes hit the ground.
Well, at least he cares, right? That shows that he cares.
Shoes hit the ground. Backpack hits the ground. I'm like, "Hunter, quiet. Hadley just laid down." And he comes stomping in. And I'm like, "Hunter, knock it off." And he goes, and Sam goes, "Hunter, go take a shower." So he stomps up the steps. And I'm like, "Oh boy." So my first reaction was like, "Okay, so what can I do? You know, this is sports. This is right down my alley. What can I do?" And so he comes out of the shower, and he comes down back into the living room, and I have YouTube up, and I showed him a clip of the Ofer. What's his name? Chris Davis?
Oh, yeah.
The Orioles.
Oh, my God.
What is that, 0 for 54?
Oh, it broke the record. I know that.
It broke the record. And I told him, but he was very good. He had a season of 50 home runs in 2013. So I told him that. I was like, look, baseball is probably the most, out of all the different sports, baseball is probably the most up and down.
Oh, without a doubt.
You can have a guy go 0 for 5 and 5 for 5 within those 2 days. Like, it happens all the time.
Yep.
And I tried to explain that to him. So I told him, look at this guy. Hit 50 home runs one year. And then a couple years later, he starts horribly. And he doesn't do well. And I believe already now, that streak ended, like 2 or 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
That. And already he's got like 4 or 5 home runs or something I saw.
Okay, yeah.
And he's already hitting the ball.
Can you imagine the cheer he got when you finally broke the...
Yeah, exactly.
If it was at home. Maybe even away. Maybe.
They're like, "Oh, thank God." So I tried to tell him, that this is going to happen. And so he didn't really want to hear it. It looks like he's a pretty competitive kid, so I think that there will be some interesting seasons ahead for him. But one of his things that he was saying was that he is used to, in his baseball, I think he's been playing for 3 years now. I believe this is his 3rd year. And in his experience was that he has the upper hand so far. He's ahead of the pack in baseball.
Okay.
And for the teams that he's played on, he is very good. and his swing is very nice and what's organic. There's no cock this or cock that or hesitation here. It's
all one
nice,
motion.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's a very good swing. He swings through the ball, which I think I struggled through as a little leaguer, was that if I hit the ball, it would stop the bat. I couldn't swing through. It just
so
was
you
a
can't
mind
hit it very
thing.
far. Yeah.
And he's already doing that.
Yeah.
So I expect him to do pretty well. His excuse was that the coach recognizes this, and there's one other player on his team who is also very good. And his coach, who obviously is an adult, I'm sure he recognizes who is good, who is struggling, whatever. So he decides to challenge them and pick it up a notch on the pitches for Hunter and this other kid. And that's what Hunter's excuse was. It was that, well, coach is throwing harder for us, and it's not nice. I'm like, well, Hunter, this is gonna happen. Like, everything gets harder. Nothing is gonna get easier from now on.
Yeah.
You're gonna be challenged.
Yep.
But I think that he's got the whereabouts to figure it out, and I think he's gonna do pretty well. So an interesting sports family side note on that one. So we went to a Phillies game, like we said, over this past, what was that, 2 weeks ago?
Would have been 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Had a good time. I think we should do that again.
At least one more this year.
Yeah, that'd be a great time.
A lot of season left, so we gotta...
Yeah. So predictions, to end the podcast. Predictions. You think that... Give me an all-Philadelphia prediction. The Flyers in the 1920 season. Where do you think they're going to finish?
You said 1920. I thought you meant that, like the year 1920.
No.
I was like, I don't think they existed yet. No, they definitely
2019, 2020.
Oh God! You know what? Out of all the Philadelphia teams, they are always the most unpredictable.
Okay.
I mean, partly because it's hockey, and hockey's the most unpredictable of them. But them especially because, I mean, I don't know. It's just, I think they finally have a franchise goalie in Carter Hart.
Yeah.
He came in about halfway through last season and just tore it up. I mean, he had some bad games because he's a rookie, but most games were just incredible, and he just shows how good he could be. And they haven't had, that kind of goalie since Ron Hextall, who just got fired as their GM. So that's how long ago that was. I mean, he retired in like the late 90s or something. But
Okay.
Their core players are aging a little bit. Claude Giroux, Jake Voracek, they're in their early 30s now. So,
Okay.
but they do have a really good young defense core. Ivan Provorov, Shane Gostisbehere, and guys like that. But it just seems like they're always, at least the past like 5 or 6 years, they're always on that bubble of playoff team.
Okay.
They barely sneak in, or they barely, they just miss the playoffs.
Right.
So
I feel like that's the worst position in sports, too.
yeah, because you're not going to get, you're going to
Draft
get a
pick
middle of the road
sucks.
draft pick.
Right.
And
Well, I shouldn't say sucks, but it's not
just
a great player.
I think it's, I don't know. I think they're too loyal in terms of their former players, because a lot of their former players are in their front office, and okay. Whether they're qualified for the job or not.
Yeah, that's like the Lakers.
They're former Flyers, so we got to hire them.
Right.
It's like, you can't really do it that way.
Right. Exactly.
So.
So you think?
Do
you see an 8th seed or?
I could see playoffs just because, their young core that they have, which most of those guys are defensemen, are a year older, and Carter Hart is going to be really good. He's already really good. Yeah. He's played half a season, so I think they'll be a playoff team, but 7th or 8th seed. I would say 7th or 8th seed, and then at best get to the second round of the playoffs.
Okay.
So, which is an improvement because they didn't make it this year. So.
Right. Okay, so you've got hopes of a playoff team there.
Mm-hmm.
Now you switch over to football, and I definitely think that's your division winner.
Yeah, at the very least they should win the division.
Hopefully, yeah. Do you see? I actually seen a couple of national already. I know we just had a draft, but some national shows and podcasts and things like that, where people are like, I kind of see the Eagles winning it again. So
yeah,
like,
it's definitely realistic.
Is it what makes you say that? Is it depth?
It's depth. I think they did really well in the draft. I think they got some needs in the draft, and if Carson Wentz needs, the only thing for him is he needs to stay healthy. So that's, he's a rare talent. So I think they did the right thing with Nick Foles. I mean, a lot of people hated to see him go, me being one of them, but I think they owed that to him, to let him choose where he wants to go.
Right.
Because obviously what he did for us. So
and it's nice that it's not like he went to the Redskins.
Yeah, he went to Jacksonville.
And exactly. And it's like, I feel like it's odd where it happens more often than I feel like it should, where a guy goes in the division. Like, not only should, especially in football, not only should a team not be negotiating, should be discussing players, like trade talks, within the division. Like, that sounds stupid. Like,
it does. Especially if it's a high quality player.
Yeah.
It just.
If I'm a GM, I'm not talking for my
anybody
Broncos.
In the division. Yeah.
I'm not talking to the Chiefs on trading this guy for that guy.
Yep.
Like, it just sounds stupid to do. In any sport, realistically. But okay, so much higher expectations in football. Hopefully, you guys another Super Bowl there. Now, it's hard to shift to baseball because we're like smack dab in the middle of it. But I want to keep this more about the future. So let's say, obviously, a quick guess on how they finished the year, but also tell me, how do you think Bryce Harper is going to do recruiting, and can this turn into a dynasty? Because even if they don't win this year, you're hoping for one, at least within the next 5-6 years.
Yeah, I would actually be pretty surprised if they didn't win at least one in the near future. But
okay, so do you think that Bryce Harper has some pull in free agents?
I think he definitely does. I mean, he needs to start playing better first.
Well, yeah.
But he's definitely in a slump.
Okay, so do you think, more immediate, do you think...
But yeah, he will have that effect just because of his name and how much money he's making and who he is and popularity and all that. So yeah, he'll definitely have a say in, what free agents they may or may not pick up. So
okay. Do you think they hold on to the division this year?
I mean, what would we say? They're a game and a half up. We're barely a quarter way through the season. There's like 120 games left. But my prediction at the beginning of the season was that they would finish second and get a wild card. And I've actually thought Washington would win the division, but they're off to a horrible start. I mean, they've been like the Yankees. They've been completely depleted with injuries. So I'll just stick with that. I think they'll finish second and get a wild card.
Okay.
It's pretty exciting. Since they've added this second wild card. What was that, about 4 or 5 years ago when they did that? Yeah. Because it's just a one-game playoff. It sucks for the team that loses. Because you play 162 games, barely get in, and then one game you're out. Like that part sucks. But it is exciting.
It is exciting.
Just have a one-game playoff.
Like, everybody likes Game 7. Everybody likes one-game playoff. Football plays in one games all the time.
Yep.
But I have a hard time. Okay, so wild card number 1 has like a 7-game lead on wild card number 2.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to one game. Like, that's hard to swallow.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, look, it's not like there's an advantage for the other guys. It's just it comes down to one game. You need to deal with that. So,
yep.
I like it and I love it, or I like it and I hate it is what I meant to say. Okay, so moving on to basketball. The Philadelphia 7, and this is where this podcast is turning out to be longer than I thought, where I like to go, because ever since this past Sunday in the buzzer beater, the Sixers got knocked out, and within 24 hours, there was a reporter who already told a radio show that the Sixers need to make a big move in the offseason. like blockbuster move. And the first thought was Ben Simmons. I like Ben Simmons.
I do too. I
really like Ben
he's
Simmons.
what, 22 years old?
22 years old.
I don't think you'd.
So
I don't know
the
if
thought,
that means they give up on him. I don't think you get rid of him this early. This soon.
But because of all the rumors surrounding the Lakers, I think that this guy capitalized on the headline-making business. And he jumped on the idea of the Sixers proposing a trade to the Lakers for LeBron James, where it was a sign and trade for, what's the guy that they got from the Clippers?
Tobias Harris.
Harris, because he's a free agent right now, to sign and trade him and include him with Ben Simmons in a deal for LeBron. So
I think LeBron's lost a couple steps, so I don't know.
Yeah. So here's my take. I have that same opinion.
Yeah.
Now, I'm a diehard Laker fan. Everybody knows that now. This is episode number 5. You should know that now. And I do not like LeBron James. I just don't. I know he's a great person. I Promise School and all the charities, and he's a great dad from the Instagram and all that crap.
All that crap.
But when the Lakers signed him, I knew exactly what was going to happen, because I knew exactly what you needed to happen as a team if you were signing LeBron James.
Yeah.
And that is a complete culture change. So this guy comes in, not only on the court, but surrounding the team off the court, where it's free agent signings, where it's trade rumors, where it's coaching decisions.
Yeah, he's basically the head coach and the GM.
Exactly.
Basically.
And I knew that was going to happen, because that's supposed to happen no matter where he goes. That's what he's built through the 16 years in the league. And that's the type of dominance that he has on the court, where he's earned the fact to double take the coach. Where he's like, hey, should we really be doing this? He's earned that. I get that.
Yeah.
But I'm not okay with that as a fan of a team, where you take one guy who is 33 years old when you sign him, and all of a sudden he controls everything. I don't like that. That pisses me off.
I don't like that either.
So he comes in. That's pretty much exactly what happens. I loved Luke Walton. I thought that he struggled at times, but I feel like that he could have been great down the line. And turns out he gets fired after a rough year. Magic Johnson steps down. Crazy news out of nowhere, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to get into that. So now it's like all this turmoil in the front office, and LeBron James is sitting there like, well, we need to be a good team next year, and all this expectations because it's LeBron James. I'm ready to ship him out. That's just me.
Yeah.
I understand how great he is. I understand what he can do, and I understand how smart he is and all that crap. But there's only so much of that time left. And I'm ready to get rid of him and figure out how much we can get back, because I know it's so much. I know we can get the talent level of a Ben Simmons. I know we can pick up trade picks and young players and money and all this crap. So I know that how valuable he is as an asset, and I feel like, to me, that's more valuable than actually having him on the team. So I think that, being a Laker fan and how I feel about LeBron James, if the Sixers were to come to the Lakers and propose that, I'd take it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Because not just because of that, but I actually really, really like Ben Simmons. I think he's an incredible player. And a lot of people, he does not have a shot, and I understand that. But I feel like that's where you put a crap load of three-point shooters around him, and you'll have some success. I think he clashes with Embiid a little bit, but I think over time they'll grow together and figure it out.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be stupid. Okay, so it's not stupid, because you're getting LeBron James and you're putting with him, because if you do that, Jimmy Butler resigns. So you got LeBron, Jimmy Butler, and Joel Embiid. And to me, you're going to the finals, possibly winning the finals. So I think that the Sixers have a chance to at least win one ring, a very good chance to win one ring right there. So I think that's why the Sixers want to do it, if they do.
Okay.
But I would still almost, the fact that Simmons is 22, like, that's just too valuable to me. Like, that's, you've got...
It seems like he's been around forever already.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
he's 22.
He's played 2 full years, yeah. So it's like, he's 22 years old. In my opinion, I'm hoping to get 15 years out of that. And with LeBron James, you're hoping to get 3.
If that.
Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, that's
that's
so
why
valuable.
I'd be a little opposed to
Right. So...
him coming to the Sixers just because,
yeah, it's crazy.
I don't know. And
All right, so let's wrap it up there. This is a much longer podcast than I thought it would be.
nothing wrong with that.
We rambled and
Nothing wrong with
rambled
that.
and rambled and rambled and rambled and rambled and rambled. Oh, I'm rambling. Sorry.
Good one.
Tyler, I appreciate
Good
it,
one.
man.
Yep.
Coming on again, filling in for the Big Al Meister. Big Al, I know you're listening, so hope everything is well, and come back next week strong and ready to kick ass and hold down the fort for podcasts to come for decades, because we are 22-year-old podcasters. We're not.
Yes, we are.
And we are just like Ben Simmons, and we're ready to do this for 15 plus years.
Yep, he was in my high school class. Ben Simmons. I went to high school with him.
Oh, yeah, okay, sure. All right.
In Australia.
In Australia. Oh, you're from Australia, mate.
I don't know why I talk like this. Then.
Yeah, great accent. So everybody, once again, you can get the podcast on YouTube. That's probably what you're listening to right now at the Gamertime podcast on the Gamertime Show's YouTube channel. There's a Twitter if you'd like to comment, at Gamertime Shows. And if you want a question, if you have questions for the show, I'd love to do an email bag. I feel like that would be very entertaining. I'd love to do an email bag if you've got questions. We can answer them on the show. That'd be actually a fucking great segment.
Mm-hmm.
Shit. Anyways, email us with some questions. It's gamertimeshows@gmail.com. So send your questions. I appreciate all your love. Don't ever leave me. All right, Tyler. Thanks.
You are welcome. Bye.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Later.